Hey guys, so today I'm going to be filming for you my brow routine. I have gotten so many requests to go ahead and do this video for you guys because you guys, I guess, wanted to see how I do my brows. And I am going to get into it as fast as I can because I did my makeup today. I did my hair. And I was like, God, Ashley, you look terrible. You look horrible. Why? The brows. It's the brows. Who knew? The brows would be so important. I feel like I look like an alien or something. I don't know what I look like. So today I'm gonna be sharing with you everything that I do, every step that I take, as well as some tips and tricks on how to achieve a good brow for yourself. Okay, so first I'm gonna talk about the things that I usually use when it comes to doing my brows. The two main things that I use, without a doubt, and I've said it a million times, are these two Anastasia Beverly Hills products. The first thing that I go in with is my Brow Wiz in soft brown. I actually have it in dark brown as well, and I actually used to do my brows in dark brown, but I felt like they were too dark, so that's why I switched back to the soft brown, and soft brown is by far, I think, my favorite. The only time that I'll use dark brown is, as you can see, the ends of both of my brows are very sparse, so that's the only time that I'll go in with dark brown, just to fill it in a little bit if I feel like it needs to be filled in a little bit more. But for the most part, I usually just use soft brown for my eyes, so that's the first thing that I usually go in with. And then next I go in with my Anastasia Brow Pro palette, and I love this thing. I think this is such a necessity in every makeup artist collection because it has every single color brow powder that you could ever imagine. I love using this on other people as well because it's cheaper as well than having to buy all of these colors individually, because I believe one brow powder, if I'm not mistaken, is like $20 or $22 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And this whole thing is $88. So I mean, you would just buy 4 for the price of the whole thing individually. So I love having this, and I also love it just, you know, not just to use it on other people, but for me, I also like to mix a bunch of the colors together. For the most part, I use soft brown the most, but sometimes, again, being that the end of my brow is very sparse, sometimes I will go in with dark brown and things like that. So I just love this palette. I think it's a really great palette for everybody to have. And on top of that, two things that I use when it comes to putting on my brows is I use this angled brush. It's actually a no-name brush. It's from RC Cosmetics. I think when I first got into makeup, my mom just went and bought me like a brush kit off of like Amazon or something, and this is the one that she got. But this is the brush that I use when it comes to doing my brows. I'm gonna find like a similar one by Sigma, and I'll even write it on the bottom of the screen for you guys, because off the top of my head, I don't know a brush by Sigma that is similar to this. I love using this brush, and the thing I love about it as well is it's angled, so it's really easy to go ahead and use it for your brows. But I think the thing that I love the most about it is that it's wide enough, or the width that I want for putting my brows, because it's as wide enough as I want for doing the brows. So that's why I love this. Like I said, this is a no-name brush, and if I find the brush kit online for you guys, I'll link it down below as well. I know it was like 2 years ago that my mom got me that brush set, but I will try and find it for you guys, so don't worry. Another brush that I use when it comes to doing my brows is I actually use my foundation brush, because when I have the powders in the inner corner of my eye, sometimes it can look too intense. So for me, I like to go back in with my foundation brush and I blend it out a little bit. So I always use my foundation brush when it comes to doing my brows. I use my foundation brush to blend out the stuff on my face, you know, foundation and concealer and contour and everything on my face. So I always love using my foundation brush more than for just foundation. Bam. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and start this. I'm gonna go really quick zoom in on the camera so you guys will be able to see what I'm doing a little bit better. That is pretty much everything that I have to say right now. I'll be obviously giving you guys a talk through tutorial on how I do my brows. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in on the camera so you guys can see what I am doing, and we'll get started. Okay, so like I said, when it comes to doing the brows, the first thing that I go in with is my Anastasia Brow Wiz. Like I said, I am using the shade soft brown. Now the rule for the brows is when it comes to doing brows, when you shape them, what you want to do is you want the brow to start, I'll kind of pinpoint it. You want the brow to kind of start right here, right where if you go straight up from your nostril, it's supposed to start right about there. So that's usually kind of where I go ahead and start off my brow. And then you want the brow to end right about there at the, you want to line it up with the tip of your nose to kind of the end of your eye right there, as you can see. And again, we're going to put a little line right there, which is pretty much where my brow ends. And then for the arch, you want to go from the tip of your nose right to the middle, right there. So that's pretty much how my natural brow is shaped. My brows are both different. It's like that thing on Instagram you see where your one brow, you know, it's gone to Yale and it does all these things, and then your one brow is just like nothing. I feel like this one, I always get this one perfect, and then this one is always the daily struggle for me. When it comes to doing brows, they're both very different. You want them to look similar. They don't need to be exactly the same. Believe me, I'm guilty. My brows pretty much are never the same. They look similar, but they are never like twins. So for me, this brow starts farther back, so I know I have to bring it up a little bit farther. This one starts right about where I want it to start, so I don't need to do that for this one. This one doesn't end where I want it to, and then this one, pretty much my arch, there's no arch there. So both brows are very different. So the one thing when it comes to doing your brows is you kind of need to know them kind of good. I guess that's kind of a tip I'd like to say, because I know for me, like I said, the end of my brow is very sparse, so I know that I have to fill it in a little bit more over there. And then I also have, I know, it has taken me like 2 years to figure out how to do my brows in the best way. So like I said, this side is very sparse, so I fill it in a little bit more. And then I also have this little area right here, as you can see, where there's like no hair. So I have to fill that in. Same over here, my brow is very sparse and I just have to fill in a little bit in some places. Okay, so when it comes to doing your brows, you first want to start, you guys can see that I'm doing a little bit better. Okay, there we go. So when you start off with your brow wiz, you want to get, you want to push it up a little bit so you have a good amount of the brow wiz product. And then when you start your brows, you want to line the bottom of your brows first. So I'm going to go from that dot that we had created before, and I'm just going to slowly create that line, as you can see. Okay, so I created that line, and then I'm just going to go ahead and line the bottom as well. Again, this edge right here, there's like no hair, so I know I have to go a little bit harder right there on my brows. You're just gonna wanna make a line to form your brows. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do the outer corner, or the tail of my brow, and I'm just gonna go along the brow hairs and just bring it down so that the two lines connect, just like that. So now, being that that point right there was gonna be the arch, that's our highest point, you're gonna want to now line the brow like that. So it has created that arch right there. And then, like I said, I'm gonna fill in this area just a little bit, just going in, you know, just going like this, in this kind of motion, because when you use the brow wiz like this, it starts to create that those little hairs that you want. That's the best thing. That's the one thing I love about this, is that when you do this motion, it starts to create little hairs for you in places that you don't have little hairs. So now, like I said, this area right here, I have like no hair growing. So I always just go back and forth, that same motion pretty much in that same kind of motion that we did at the tail of our brow. Okay, so that is how I fill in my one brow, beginning with the Anastasia brow wiz. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and actually fill in the brow. So I'm going in with my angled brush, and my Anastasia brow palette. And so now when it comes to filling in the brow, you want the inner corner of your brow to be a little bit lighter than the tail. It's just gonna look more natural and more realistic, I would say. So I go in with my angled brush and I go into the lighter side of the soft brown for the moment. And this is when I start to fill in that inner corner. So I'm going to start to kind of do two things. I go sideways as well as go upwards with the brow powder. I start with the inner corner just because I feel like, for me, I like to do the inner corner first because it is the thing that shapes the rest of the brow. I know you're supposed to do the tail of your brow first and then bring it in. I personally like to do the inner corner of my brow first, and I just feel like it's easier for me to go ahead and do it that way. So going back in with the lighter side of the soft brown right there, I'm gonna go ahead and just continue to fill the brow in. And then when you get to the inner corner, I go and I bring my brush sideways and it kind of makes like a square, which don't worry, it's not gonna look like that. That's where the foundation brush comes in a second. And I'm just going to just fill in this inner corner. Okay, so it should look like, your brow should look like that with that lighter powder in it. Now this is the part where we're gonna go in with the darker color. So now I'm going to go into the dark brown shade. You can actually mix it with a little bit of light if you want. I majorly kind of just put it in the darker color. And this is where we're gonna start to now fill in the rest of the brow. I bring it in a little bit into the inner corner because you do want them to blend together. So I will start kind of in the center, blending it into the rest of the brow, and then I will start to do the outer corner. Okay, and that is how I fill in my brow. So then now, like I said, being that this inner corner is very strong and intense, I want it to be more blended and go into the rest of the brow a little bit. So this is where I'll go in with my foundation brush. And what I really do with a very light hand, you don't want to go like this because you're just going to take off all the powder that you just put down. But now I'm just going to just slowly kind of blend the foundation brush into it. Take your finger a little bit if you want. And there. It just looks more blended. It's not as intense as it was before. You want to go back with your brush and just add a little bit more into the areas that you feel need a little bit more. And that is it. Voila. So as you can see, this is one brow done and this is one not done. Who knew that brows would be so important? Like, seriously. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and start to do the other brow. I'll go through the steps with you guys as well for that one. So we're gonna go back in with our brow wiz and now shape the brow. So like I said, this one does not come in as far as I'd like it. This one is fine. It comes in right where I need it to. So now for the end of my brow, I'm gonna go to the tip and go all the way to the end of my eye. So I need my brow to end right about, not there because that's too high, right about there. And then for the arch, going from the tip of your nose again to the center, I need the arch to go right about here. So as you can see, this brow, it is pretty much shaped good. Naturally, this one is like a train wreck. So now we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing we've done on the other side. We're gonna first line the bottom of the brow. And just fill it in. So now that we have the bottom of our brow outlined, I'm gonna go ahead and start to from the arch, or from that point that we made with the arch, bring it down to connect it. Sometimes if you feel like you put too much, or if you feel like you need to just erase a little bit, that's what I love using the spoolie at the end, is that I can just shape it out a little bit better. So now both ends the same. And then we're gonna go ahead and to create that arch that we need, I'm just gonna connect the lines together. Now we're gonna go ahead and fill in the outer tail, the outer tail. Going in just kind of flicking motions. Okay, and then now we're gonna go back in with our angled brush. I have a little tissue, so I kind of get off the dark product since I want the inner corner of my eye to be, or my brow to be lighter. So going back in with the light shade, I'm gonna go ahead and go kind of sideways as well as upwards and fill in that inner corner. Going back in and creating that motion in the inner corner for right now. And then we're gonna go back in with the darker color in soft brown, and then just start to fill in the rest of the brow, blending the soft color in with the rest of the brow right now, first off, just like what we did on the other side. And then I'm gonna fill in the tail of the brow. All right, so now that we have that brow filled in, we're gonna go back in with our foundation brush and start to blend that inner corner a little bit. Very softly, very lightly. I have brows! So that is it, guys, for how I fill in my brows. I'm so happy that I did this video for you guys because you guys have been requesting this for such a long time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any other videos that you would like for me to do, whether it's how-tos or makeup tutorials or tags or anything like that, make sure you comment them down below. I would love to hear what you guys would like to see. Please make sure that you also like this video if you liked it, and also make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. I love you all, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.